Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have the offers accepted if you're not viewing. Just be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. If you've not been watching my videos, I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff. Good evening, everybody. Can you your microphone speak? Everyone wave.
Oh, sorry.
Give you everyone welcome to a very special live stream. It's an unusual one because it's live in person with Stig. That's not unusual. But also, we have the first ever real human live guest that isn't Stig. And welcome. Yeah, to have you.
Cheers.
Yeah, we've all got a glass of wine. And for those of you listening either live or later on tomorrow morning in the car with your children on the way to school, there will likely be bad language on this. So I don't want to get upset about your children.
We'll do our best at the beginning, at least.
Yeah.
Well, 9. Well, we want to not be demonetized, right? So.
Is that the gifters?
I've got a technical issue here, which is that I can't see any of the live chat comments.
People say the audio is bad.
Oh no! Is the audio bad? How bad is the audio?
Saying you're stuttering badly.
Audio is awful, poor sound, audio is terrible, bloody awful. Audio is breaking up badly. You can't hear. Yeah, that's bad.
Right.
Oh fuck! Did you hear that?
Oh no! What a nightmare! Why would it do that tonight or night?
Have you got any of your mics around?
It's not the mic. It's the internet.
Well, use Sasha's hotspot. He says it's faster than your internet.
Do you want to try to run it off mine? Just connect it to Sasha.
We could try. We could try. Is it still bad, everybody?
People are saying it's bad.
Oh fuck.
Matt, that's why I don't own a car.
People are saying it's working now. No, you're all breaking up. Some people saying it's all right.
It might. Sometimes it gradually gets a bit better.
Echo feedback. Feel free to try my hotspot if you want.
You've only got one.
It won't get better, Charlie. Honestly, try.
I think Charlie's trying to figure it out.
I'm trying to figure it out.
People are saying it's fine now.
Okay.
Whatever you did,
All right.
whatever you did is working.
Okay. Don't know what I did.
No, you did. You did.
Did you use your
that.
magic,
I've
Charlie?
done it. I used my Jedi mind trick. Well, and the other problem is that I can't see anyone's live chat.
That's right. I have it here, so I can tell
Okay,
you.
but I need to get it up on the screen for everyone. So well, this is it's gone off to. It can only get better from here, can't it?
You see, threesomes are always clumsy at the beginning.
Speak for yourself.
Oh yes.
Let me see if I can.
What's going on? I think you've got echo.
I can now
They
hang
can't
on,
hear
wait,
anything.
Here we go.
Oh,
1.
okay, we can see you now, Charlie. Oh.
Never give up.
Sorry, they've all quit already.
Never
so,
give up.
So,
No,
so
no, it's
too late.
it's
It's too
never
late.
give up. Never give up. We are here.
The comment
What is
is
that behind
Labour running the show?
It's Labour running this show.
Rachel Reeves is paying for your internet.
Absolutely no one saw this coming, says Matt Devonish. Right, okay, we are up and running and live. We've got cameras, we've got lights, we've got audio action. Sorry, guys. Absolutely. Can everyone hear us now? Can we just have a thumbs up and they're back? Yes, Modi, Pure back. Welcome back.
I'm gonna
Can hear us.
stick.
It is okay now, says Martin's
Stick this thing over here,
Vizkovsky.
and then at least I'm not looking way to the side to see the comments.
Where do we begin? Should we start with okay, one thing I think everyone knows the things that we agree on. So we don't need to spend too much time on how bad everything is in the UK economy.
Boring to talk about as well.
It is. Although I did want, for everyone's benefit, didn't watch your video on the ONS last week. You pointed out that they revised last year's GDP figures, and there was 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. So there was a technical official recession last year. They didn't tell us about it when they found out with the revised figures.
I think it was technical recession when the numbers first came out. Just it's much at the time it was marginal, and now it's not quite so marginal. And I think it's an interesting. It's the same thing with GDP numbers as it is with house prices and many other things. You know, whenever you every month the data comes out, and you always read this thing saying the GDP data has got better.
Yeah.
The house prices have increased from last month or whatever.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the narrative continues. I mean, you look at the graph for the last several years, and it doesn't reflect its headlines, right? You go and wonder, well, how do those 2 things juxtapose, right? And then you kind of think about it, and if you first publish high numbers, they're higher than whatever they were last month or the month before, and then a year later or whatever, they have been revised down substantially, and the newest month data is being published again much higher than whatever the final number is going to be.
Yeah.
And that new number is going to be better than whatever the revised version is. So the headline every time is the number today is better than the one from 1 year ago. It's not better than the one from 1 year ago before it was revised.
Correct.
That way you can keep printing the headlines that things are looking good, even if the overall the economy to the end of January grew 2.9% in the last 6 years.
2.9 in 6 years.
If you round it to the next 0.5%, that's 0% a year.
Yeah.
Right, which is not that great.
I mean, let's face it, it's been up until 23. And by the way, sound is just.
I don't know what to do.
I told you hotspot.
It's going to be the same.
It won't.
I don't know. Put it in the windows.
The action. Maybe that's how the action sound.
You mean before we interpolated?
I'm really sorry, everybody. Let me try. I've got 4G on this one. Let me just try that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, even before. Years to 0.7%. I mean, that's pretty fucking abysmal.
Well, per capita, like if you look at the last 6 years, it's probably negative.
It's not. It's not quite, but it's nearly. It's getting there.
The population's grown by more than 2.9% in 6 years, though, hasn't it?
It's grown by 2.4 million in the last 6 years. People.
Yes, that's more than 2.9%.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Everyone, is this better? I'm now on a different mobile 5G connection.
Oh no, Daniel Evans is gone. He said bye.
Yeah. No, I'm fair enough, guys. I'm so sorry. I deeply apologize for this. It's just sod's law, isn't it? The night we have a really exciting one, this happens, and this hasn't happened for a long, long time. Better now, says someone. Okay, right. Let's press on.
Let's hope.
Let's hope and press on. So,
we were mainly bitching about how
GDP lies.
well, no. So this is the point. The ONS announces a bulletin and things look whatever, and then they revise it down later and don't update us on the revisions.
And I do understand that
it
it was
creates
difficult 2 months down the line, maybe, to go and do an accurate representation of what is happening. In
Yeah,
the
but
economy,
why is it
etc.
always too high the first time? You would understand if it was occasionally too high and occasionally too low.
In the last several years, on the GDP front, it's definitely that way. On the housing numbers, I don't follow them closely.
No, it's always too high. On the housing numbers, it has never once been below. It's always been revised
Housing
down.
It's amazing how much it gets revised down every month. So James Twarren does that amazing graph of each month's revisions, and it's like
And it's bizarre because I understand with the GDP numbers, it's maybe slightly difficult because you don't know what the production of private
really
companies
hard.
has been. With house prices,
it's very easy when you've got HMRC data.
they get literally submitted to the government when the transaction goes through.
Within 2 weeks of the transaction completing, HMRC have that transaction.
So you'd think that if somebody has a good calculator and stuff.
But no, they don't use the HMRC data. They use the land registry data, which we know is 18 months to 2 years lagged by the time it's 90%. And so their sample size is fucking tiny.
But you would argue, like practically in 2025, why does the lag exist? And if it's down to the lawyers not submitting the data or
No, the lawyers submit. The issue is simply the lack of staff at the land registry actually updating the records in the land registry data.
But why do the lawyers not have an entry where they submit the data?
Oh, what a good question. Yeah,
HMRC does.
I could probably code it up. I mean,
exactly.
It's very, very frustrating. And actually, this comes into a serious point because the number one frustration and problem for people in this country is how unaffordable it is to get a home.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a list of things that contribute to everyone thinking it's up. Like today, Bloomberg published a story on the back of the Halifax house price announcement this morning going, first-time buyers surge. And there's a surge of first-time buyers to a record. Okay, they're at 54% of all transactions, or mortgage transactions. Mm-hmm. But it's gone up like a tiny notch. It's not. There's no surge. But they just have to use these words that they can't be challenged on because there's no definition of what surge means.
And I just struggle to, if you take a step back, when interest rates are substantially higher than they were for a decade, when the economy is objectively performing considerably worse than it was for a decade, what would be the obvious explanation? If everything was pointing to it, you'd be like, yeah, okay, that's good, but all the numbers suggest that it's improbable. You look and you go, why? What's the explanation other than?
Well, Alex and I have this discussion often where people go, look, there's a plan. They're all doing it on purpose because, and outside, don't explain with malice what could be explained with incompetence.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is the weird thing. If you look back at historical house prices and you look at the multiple of wages, you would think, logically, if you took somebody who knew nothing, you'd sit them down, you'd say, right, when do you think the multiple of wages was at its highest for house prices? And everyone would go, well, during the period where the Bank of England rates were 0.5%, because that way you could borrow a higher multiple because you were paying less in interest, and therefore you could get away with having higher multiples. No, that is not when multiples were at their highest. They were at their highest long before interest rates crashed to 0.5%. They're at their highest through the 97 to 2007 period when interest rates were very high. And you go, well, that doesn't make sense, does it? Why would the multiples be higher then? And the same has happened again since interest rates have gone up. And it's a great wheeze. It happened the first time because they relaxed the lending rules, which then resulted in the credit crunch, which then meant that banks didn't lend, which is why multiples dropped. Now, of course, even our Chancellor is suggesting to the FCA that they should be relaxing the rules, which they have done. And so multiples are increasing, but it gets better because what they've done now is extend the term, and that makes it more affordable.
Yeah, I mean, that's
affordable for it.
As long as you have time to save up for your retirement, it's more affordable.
Yeah, correct. And if you don't ever want to retire, it's very affordable.
Nothing bad never happened with relaxing lending rules. I remember buying going before the financial crash, and so So I graduated university. I was going into my first job. I bought my first house before starting my first job without a single pay slip.
Self-certified.
And yeah, well, we can see that you get a job offer. That's good enough. You're like 10% top of the 100% mortgage, that you can maybe do some renovations. I'm like, no.
Thank you, but I will skip that trap. Trap avoided. It's not working, Charlie.
Yeah.
What's not?
People.
The audio, the video.
Let's come and go. It's all right. We'll wait and come back.
Really?
Stay clear. Video is good within the last minute.
It's got audio is cooked.
Yes.
Oh, no. It's very hard to get into our flow with this question.
Yeah.
I don't know whether to keep going. It's just so sad you come this way.
Right. I don't know if the multiple camera thing.
Well, because there's only one internet connection. It's just because it's mobile. It's just.
And your home based is really screwed, is it?
Well, it's normally really good.
Yeah.
It's normally really good, so I don't know why.
It's funny people are saying Stig sounds the best, even though he is the furthest away from any kind
Okay,
of
let's
microphone.
go to. I'm going to change the video quality. Some people are saying just kill the cameras.
Yeah. Just have it as a podcast.
Or just if you can reduce quality, that might work.
That's what I'm trying to do. I won't let you do that while it's live. Let me try. Hang on. Let me just see if I can kill the camera. 1 second.
Oh, Charlie's gone.
Please tell Sasha his shows are brilliant.
There you are.
Thank you, Davey.
No, I can't change the stream rate while we're live. Hang on. Let me see if I. Sorry, hold on, everyone. Just 1 sec. 1 sec. Let me see if I can do this now. No, it won't let me do it while we're live.
Sorry, if we finish early, we can just like chat and have wine and.
Yeah.
And there's salami here and a baguette.
People are saying it's fine now.
Turn off your porn download to free up bandwidth.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Maybe, is this a 10 number, whatever?
It's working. Guys, I think what's happening is we're using a mobile connection, and that's just the strength of the connection is getting strong and then weak and strong and then weak. And there's literally nothing we can do about it other than just keep going and stop. I think when we'll stop talking every time it happens, it's just making it worse.
Yeah, let's go.
We just find it's working. Okay, so guys, what we're going to do now, just so you know, we're going to commit to continue our conversation, whether you can hear us or not. I'm recording. I've got audio recording of this as well. The worst case scenario, it's being captured and we can upload the audio podcast afterwards. Okay?
Fantastic.
But okay, so Alex, you said quite a long time that you think that mortgage multiples are the biggest culprit of excessive house price growth.
I think lending or the realization of lending is the culprit of house price growth. I mean, lending has now a 0.97 correlation. House prices have a 0.97 correlation with wages. People go, oh no, wages are far outstripped. That's the movement. The correlation of the movement. It is kerosene to that allows it to then compound is the lending. And it's based on multiple event.
Kill the video is what the overwhelming comment said.
Yeah.
It's the video feed. Maybe it's taking too much bandwidth.
Right.
Oh, my face on that. Yeah. My face on that last still not good.
And now you know what. Don't go on camera.
All right, guys. How about that? Can you give us tell us whether or not that sounds okay now?
I hope it works better without the video.
Yeah. Now it's not we can't hear anything. Audio only if possible.
Wow. Sasha is freaking out. Other people hear stuff.
Getting some IT support comments as well. I don't have a backup solution to this problem.
This is why you need to get multiple internet links to your flat, just like decent businesses.
Yeah. Audio is still awful. Right now, I've got no fucking idea. This is an absolute car crash. we just need to kill it.
I do have a point then.
You have one. I think it's just, and I'm very sorry about this. I'm excited about this, but also what a massive disappointment.
Do you think it's physical audio? Do you think is it worth trying to go via my hotspot? See, I'm Vodafone. I don't know if that.
I just think it would be worth trying it.
I think that all mobile connections do the same. They just
They have different masts.
Yeah.
but my mast is fine, and then it isn't, and it is, and it isn't.
Try his
That's up
phone.
to you.
Okay. And is that like?
Yeah, it's just got Sasha as the password. No. Very sophisticated. Sorry, guys. Well,
Yeah, I'm really, really sorry about this.
maybe we'll
guys.
make it work in a second.
Make Charlie or Stig the host.
I'm not sorry because I'm just checking one. So it's fine.
30% of the time, these things work every time. So
You're not wrong.
Okay. Sasha. And that's a great password.
it's very long. It's very Oh,
Wait.
we can see Charlie. The question
I'm
is, can we
back.
hear him? So very
Um,
useful comments coming through there.
OnlyFans chicks only stream into one platform. Requirements are more
Oh.
mellow for that.
This is like us from like Minecraft or something.
Okay.
With this level of pixelation.
We're back. Cameras are on.
Let's see if
Better, says Rumit.
better
Okay.
better than what, like the no sound, no picture better.
Better than the black void that was my soul.
I
They
think I
can
should
hear
get very
and
drunk
see
now.
us. That is amazing.
Where's Stig? Stig is here.
Hello.
Yes. Okay. Audio good. He's alive.
Look at this.
Sounds
It
good,
only took
gents.
us half an hour to work it out. I mean, like pro level podcasting.
What do you mean half an hour? 26 minutes,
Oh,
I'll
sorry.
have you know.
Sorry. Like,
Wow, there's still 530 people who've actually persisted through all of that.
Through all of that crap,
Yeah.
I would have given up in the first 2 minutes and just gone, fuck you, useless
Hi,
bastards.
Peter. Okay.
There must be
All
some
right.
good
I
cat
think we
videos
owe
to
the
watch.
audience some questions. Right. Come on, quickly, guys. While you can, give us some questions. Just going to have a quick look through.
Commodore 64 is now working. Don't you diss the Commodore 64. That was a brilliant bit of kit.
Yes. So
running off Sasha's phone or
Stig is the devil in Sasha's ear, says Chris Lieber.
there you go.
Okay, I'm gonna while we're waiting for some questions, everybody, questions please. I'm gonna say something in response to the Gary Stevenson and Dan Priestley conversation on Diary of a CEO that went out today on YouTube and has had many views. I listened to most of it while I was traveling today.
Oh, yeah.
And roughly speaking, Gary and Dan agree that wealth inequality is a problem. Gary and Dan agree that poverty is getting worse and it's only going to continue to get worse. And
Yep.
it isn't stopping. Well, you agree with it. You and I agree with that as well. But one particular point I picked on they disagree on, which is that Dan Priestley said, if I'd heard your content, Gary, when I was 19, I would have given up and never even tried. Because Gary's message is
It's fault they're bastards.
because they weren't young and struggling.
They
when
are
No,
bastards.
like they're not thinking ahead at that point. This is the point. When you're young and starting, you're not thinking, I wonder what my grandchildren are going to think of my decisions today. You know, you're just trying to get a house, aren't you? Anyway, so Dan Priestley, we should be encouraged to ways it can be done. You don't have to become a mum self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Gary Stevenson got very angry and he said, I find that sick. It's a sick suggestion that people should just work harder. They're already working hard and they already can't make their means. And you're just saying work harder. No. And he said, not everyone can be a millionaire, and if your dad's not a millionaire, then you're fucked, kind of stuff. My point is this, right? I genuinely think to make working for yourself things now cannot make it. Up there and those more they can get, they can't. I personally have education exams, looked around and just thought, and this is what it comes down to, right? It's not about how hard you. So if you work really hard for a greedy boss, you're always going to be poor, right?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
You do the same amount of effort where you get to keep 100% of you.
And they would be. And in fact, I agree with you. Back in 1998,
I think it's frozen.
I went to the company project manager, so I got to see the budget. I know how much you would quite like it if it was a profit. I think if it was a profit rate, lots of stuff, and they went, "Fuck you." Bye. In about 2000, and every successive government from there on in should be hurt as badly as possible so that their PAYE and the taxman has actually, I wouldn't recommend now contracting, whether that be in an IT world or finance, to anybody. Employees get so many good benefits, and actually their salaries are much more comparable than they used to be. And the same is true for a lot of small business, which is why this kind of idea that we have this hyper-mobile workforce of small businesses, and that's the backbone of the UK. It is 4.8 million people who work in these companies or sole traders or whatever.
Yep.
But the taxman or the government via the taxman is hurting them and making it to the point where actually you may as well be a permanent employee. You got sick leave, you got holiday pay, you got some pension contributions.
So the wife and kids aren't here on my wife. There's no one else on the Wi-Fi. There's only this device on the Wi-Fi. Nothing else is using it. Oh, you're using it.
I'm using for the comments.
Talking. If you can hear, great. If you can't, I'm recording it and I'll upload it afterwards. So you're talking about contracting, right? So you're talking about quite a high skill level. I'm talking about people who don't have that level.
Like my partner Monica, who's a massage therapist.
Okay.
If she goes to work for a company, they go, yeah, that's fine. And she's going to be freelance. You're a freelancer. You're still going to be a freelancer. You only get half. 35. That is a massive successful if you're good. There's not much incentive to have more clients. But if you can work from home where you're not paying that person, it makes perfect sense. Where you're already paying rent on a property and so on and so forth, you can still get insurance and all that sort of stuff.
So, I mean, I know a kid. I've known him since he was born. And he wasn't in school. He didn't have any good exams. And this is in the countryside, right? It's in Sussex. And he just looked at the options and went, I'm just going to go and do people's gardens for them. New liveried pickup truck. He had real money. He had people helping him out. He had customers. He just worked hard. There is an economy, and then you've got plumbers and electricians, and they've got to, of course, get their training qualifications.
Yeah.
But those guys are busy.
Yeah.
They're all busy. And they get to keep 100% of the proceeds of their work, unless they go and choose to work for a franchise organization. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think that too many people are deliberately put off working for yourself.
But take a step back. Are you suggesting too many people go to university these days? And so that's where, we used to have polytechnics, we used to have which led people down a more physically involved job route, shall we say. And now I think is it 50% of the population go to university?
Maybe even more, yeah.
Which it used to be 10%. It was 10%
And
because it was
minimum wage.
Yeah, exactly. Because it used to be an intellectual pursuit. You went to university if you wanted to be a doctor, if you wanted to be a lawyer, or if you were a classicist who wanted to translate Greek texts. That was why you went to university. Suddenly, they opened up, when the polytechnics joined, they opened up all these courses, and everyone went, well, everyone should go. I should get more education. I should go. You lose 3 years of work. You lose 3 years where you could have been working as an apprentice plumber, learning the trade before you then set up your own business. And that was okay when university was free. But now that university is 10 grand a year or more, and you end up with a bunch of students who don't have a job. And sorry, everyone goes on about STEM subjects. I work with labs, etc. Those guys go on, they get masters, they come out, some of them have PhDs. They are paid peanuts in research and development. Consider how much that to go in terms of education. And this is where, when the doctors complain, you will be a consultant. By the time you're 36, if that's what you want, you could have specialized, you could be a consultant, and then you'll be earning big money. It's a path. Whereas these poor lab techs in R&D, there is no path for them.
Sasha, if you were starting out, like if you were 18, finishing school and considering university, employment or self-employment today, which path would you choose?
I think it depends a huge deal on your expectations, what your strengths and weaknesses are, what you think you want to do in life work-wise. And I know it's very, very difficult because when you're 18, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was 18. I still don't really know what I want to do. I think the moment you do know what you want to do for the rest of your life gets really boring.
Yeah.
But really academically minded still end up going to university. That is the expectation.
Why don't they check the data? Okay, if I go to university, I've got a 50% chance of coming out on minimum wage. Well, I can start on minimum wage now.
And in 3 years' time, potentially be my own boss.
And be much more employable.
Yep.
It's difficult because there are other considerations, right? There's the consideration of learning how to operate in the adult world. You come out of school and you kind of know nothing.
Do you think university in England teaches you that?
It's maybe like a step in that direction. Like you learn how to, live by yourself for many people for the first time. There are other things you learn.
I'm going for the right-wing racist bigot here. Don't you learn to tear down statues and decide that you changed your gender? Isn't that what you learn at university today?
I think you learn like a bit about life.
And
in a soft sort of environment, which isn't quite the very deep end of things.
So you dodged my question. What would you do if you were 18 today?
What would I do?
Just finishing school.
I would still go to university, but I think it really depends on you.
Today? Why?
I would, because
what could you learn at university you can't teach yourself now?
The structured. So I think the main thing that you learn at university is how to think, how to structure your thoughts and research, how to work by yourself, and how to structure your how to think like in a good way.
But doesn't that frighten you, given how?
Because I think the topic of what you learn is in most subjects not that relevant.
It's meaningless.
Do you not think it's possible to teach yourself those things outside university?
I think it's possible, but I think when you focused on it, I do think it can help some people, because I think the structured approach to solving problems that you get taught. But again, I don't think that's necessarily the case in every course in every university as well. And I think maybe there is an argument. It probably depends on your personal experience. Like I had a very good experience at university, and I felt like thought-wise, it really helped me.
Where did you go and what did you study?
I studied maths at Oxford.
Right. Okay, that I understand. Now, if you were to go to Sussex and you studied theatre, do you think it would have taught you how to think?
I
maths is the basis of everything. It's the logic that underpins everything. And Oxford, fairly good uni, It's got to believe that things should be done. Not true of most of our universities, aside from the rare few, and aside from courses like or physics, which are close to philosophy but without.
For Sasha, so Mad Mountain Man says, what delights does Sasha think Rachel and accounts will dish up next week?
So, as much as I dislike some of the stuff that Rachel is doing, I kind of like. I think I prefer not to do yes please, to do the less constructive sort of name calling and stuff. But I think the issue that they have at the moment is they've been trying to say the word growth for 9 months. And they've been going around saying the word growth, thinking that if they say it enough times, it will just happen by magic. And it's not happened. And they've realized that the only side of the equation that they can now try to make maneuvers in is costs. So they're like, okay, well, the growth thing hasn't happened for some reason. We said it loads of times. It hasn't come. So let's just go begin cutting stuff, which is very anti-labor in thesis terms, right? It's almost bizarre because that was the whole premise of the whole David Cameron government. And so they're now very, very suddenly doing a U-turn. And I'm not noticing the media really discuss the fact that it is a complete U-turn away from growth to, oh, let's just cut welfare, because welfare is the biggest element in the budget. It's the one that is easiest to cut because you can make policy decisions.
The biggest thing in the budget is other.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
biggest thing in the budget is other.
What is it?
Welfare is less than other.
28%.
24.2%.
There you go.
Other.
Quite a lot of other is investment, though, which, as in like infrastructure.
But
and
welfare,
stuff.
just
Yeah.
remind me of that funny story. But yeah, okay. So yeah, they want to cut welfare, which I mean, you're right. They're clutching at straws, aren't they?
And it's a difficult one because I'm not I think that there is probably always opportunity to optimize. Like, I am sure that there are policies that are being abused. I'm sure that better processes can be put in place so that people who genuinely need the help get the help, but people who perhaps do not genuinely need the help do not get undue help at the cost of the taxpayer. But I think it's sort of like if you're a person who earns £40,000 a year and you spend 9 months trying to get yourself a higher salary job so you can move to 50,000 a year, and then you realize that you can't get it, and then you sit around going, what if I cut the movies bit of my Sky package? That's gonna be like £13 a month or whatever. It's like, I mean, okay, but that's not gonna move the needle in the grand scheme of things. You know, it's a factor. The amount of money in the UK is roughly the same.
Yes.
Fast forward to today, and the average salary in Louisiana.
That's for two reasons. Number one, in 2007, the dollar exchange was $2 to the pound.
And if you normalize the exchange, it's lower.
Okay. But the other point is global reserve currency. I mean, those guys have got the highest amount of debt, 36 trillion now, or are they?
You can count. You can argue. Don't really care about the fact that the debt is growing, etc.
Using the dollar.
You can make an argument, but I think that's probably not even close to 100% of the reason why, say, since the pandemic hit, if you draw the chart of their economy versus the UK economy, it is just
since the pandemic, it's I agree with you. Since 2007, it's a slightly nuanced story, but since the pandemic, we have screwed ourselves into the fucking ground.
It's a helpful comment. He says, try rinsing the laptop with wine.
It works for me.
Next question. Rix G on YouTube says, is CPIH still climbing?
Well,
with the current cost of living, how are people expecting high-priced houses to still increase?
I think if CPIH was a more genuine reflection weights-wise of the real situation, because the problem is, so the US does this slightly better with their CPI, where the weight of housing, shelter, the equivalent of owner-occupied cost, like rent plus owner-occupied, is I think 37%. In the UK version, it is 15%,
which is totally unreasonable.
And what they do is they basically take the median out of, and they say, well, if you include people who own their house outright, old people, people who inherited houses, and while that is sort of the average family spending north of 40% of their income on the house, and like 60. And so I think a metric, the reality of the working population, because that particular part of the inflation index is going through the roof. And it was always obvious. I was talking about it 2 years ago, saying this metric is going to go through the roof. Because like you didn't have to be a rocket scientist.
But it allows us to compare with other countries favorably.
If the weight of that instead of 15% was more like 45, which is probably closer to reality for the working population. Currently,
through the roof.
I don't
Yeah.
and it would be all panic, and it's fascinating because the reality is the same. It's just the way that the measuring stick is different, right?
Yeah.
And if you use this particular measuring stick, well, the number looks all right. It's somewhere in the 2, 3, 4% territory. It's a bit higher than what we want, but it's not like earth-shattering.
Absolutely.
Um,
But at the cost of how every one of your citizens who has a mortgage or at a house or pays rent actually feels.
exactly.
Because you can walk around other countries. I find it funny. If you look at somewhere like Spain, and don't get me wrong, the weather does make a difference. Everyone knows that, and the cost of beer and so on and so forth. But if you walk around in Spain and you compare the Spanish economy with the UK economy, and you look at things like CPIH, you look at imputed rent, you go, well, they should be comparable. Why is it that Brits, and you can call us as the Australians did, whinging Poms, maybe we just whinge a lot, but for a lot of people in this country, I think life is more of a struggle. It's harder, and the numbers don't reflect it, because that comparison, as you say, the weighting there at 15, is it really 15? I thought it was a bit higher.
I think, I think like the total, including like servicing your house, stuff like that, maybe in the 20s.
But it's
20s.
certainly not up at 35
It's
to
not-
40, which is where it should be.
Yeah.
Well, at least in
I don't have the numbers in front of me, so maybe I'm slightly out, but it's significantly lower than what I think is the reality.
Yes, 100%.
Roni Burmick says the concept of hard work to earn more is nonsense. The UK income tax system does not incentivize high-skilled workers to work more. I'm a specialist in the NHS, and I'm worried of working extra.
I agree. I think this is a topic. So I'm going to be talking about this tomorrow, day after, if I can get the thing out in time. But I think a lot of people misunderstand the way that personal income taxation in the UK works to such a fundamental, because people think the lowest income tax level is 20%. Whereas the vast majority of people, you come out of university, you get your first job, your marginal tax rate is 20%. You then pay 8% national insurance, that's 28. And then from April, the employer's national insurance, which is still a tax on your employment to the employer, is 15. You add that up, that's 43. But then you also pay the 9% above whatever it is in student loans, which is essentially, it's not really a debt, it's more like a tax. It's a tax for the fact, it's an extra tax for the fact that you're going to university. You add the 9%, and now you're paying 52. And I think what most people don't quite recognize is you come out of university, your marginal tax rate, so the highest rate that you're paying is 52%. If you actually,
well, no. If you're lucky enough, your marginal tax rate is that. But if you were lucky enough, you actually did a law degree. You did something that is going to help you, and we're now competing with the US, and you get a job that's paying you £80,000 the moment you walk out of the door.
Yeah. So the problem is, from the start, you're paying most of your money back to the government.
Yeah.
And the higher your earnings,
even if you are fortunate enough to be one of those 80 grand graduates, the really high earners, you are still going to be coughing a vast sum of money back.
And it's bizarre, because I just think fundamentally there are some rules that are just common sense for, like, you don't need to be an economist necessarily or build sophisticated models to understand. But if you are having to hand over the majority, more than 50% of the money that you make, it is going to be a huge disincentive for you to keep working and try to scale your business, especially if the gap reduces. So, like above 100,000, from 100 to 125,000,
you lose your £12,570.
Exactly. So when you add up all of these different allowances, suddenly, like, you're actually taking home a quarter before student loans. If you're still repaying student loan, you're taking back like what is it like?
The worst salary
Less
in
than
the
20%.
world is £122,000.
Yeah.
You may as well just have gone, fuck it, I'll take that day at home and not earn the extra 25 grand.
Well, I made mention of an anecdote recently where, so I was speaking to a guy who owns a garage near where I live, like, honest story. And he said, so he's recently this year, he started taking on less work. He works less hours, and he's got like one less member of staff in the garage, because he doesn't want to do all that extra work and pay like 75% when you actually do all the numbers to the government of that extra amount. that he makes, and I get it.
Yeah. What's the point of working in this is what nobody in government seems to understand or even acknowledge.
And is not in the income, right? The long-term value is in building up a business that is worth something, and then at some point maybe you will be able to sell it or cash in via, like whatever. The truth is, that doesn't happen to that many people.
No.
And like the majority is, it's still going to be a relatively small enterprise, and you're still going to be paying yourself one way or another via dividends, via income, via whatever. And like if the answer is that whichever way around it goes, you are still going to be taxed like to death, you're either going to consider doing this somewhere else, or you just say, why bother?
Yeah.
And I think that we also, as a country, and this is so maybe like please tell me if I'm speaking out of turn, but there is definitely, compared to some other places, a bit of a culture of talking down ambition. So if somebody says, "Oh, I want to go and start doing this thing," most people like,
Oh, you're not
really?
wrong. No, you are not wrong.
Like in the US, the attitude is very, very different. I spent some time.
Supportive.
I've lived in the US, but the mentality is different, and you could argue that they go a bit too far on that. Maybe, like I get it.
Even that is 100% spot on. I remember going to one as a teenager. It was in a call center, and they'd only just been invented. It was 1990. We were sort of targeted on how many calls an hour you could do. So I would gamify and go, right. Am I doing well? And do you know what the other guys tell me? Can you stop?
Yeah.
You're making me look shit. I'm going, no, you're making yourself look shit. But I remember being ostracized.
Yeah.
You're making us all look shit. No, you are all shit. I'm not making you look shit. You are all being shit because you're all knowingly underperforming. That's a career choice you fuckers are making, right? If I'm going to be here, if I'm going to choose to work in this company, I'm going to give it my best because that's what's best for me. That improves my chances of either getting on here or being able to go somewhere, whatever it might be. But there's no point. Whatever you're going to do, if you turn up to work somewhere,
do it 100%.
Do it properly, or just don't fucking bother. And I do get a lot of people like, I'm trapped in a job, I can't move from it, I hate it. I'm going to do the minimum to get by, right? And I've employed somewhere in the cumulative total people I've employed in 30 years is about 500. And so it teaches you so much about human. And in my first business, car washing, I had 16 employees and half of them were out of prison. And it was amazing to see the difference in attitudes. And by the way, from the half of them have been in prison and half that hasn't, it was the same distribution of how much they give a fuck or didn't give a fuck, right? It difference, right? Some of the guys who've been in prison were like, I want to make something in my life now. And it's fascinating. So you're quite right that if you try and do well in the UK, you are bullied for it. That happened at school to me. I remember being enthusiastic.
I don't remember you working that hard at school.
No, but if I was
No.
I remember in a classroom, like, you've got to sit here, right? You've got to sit here. You've got to listen to this person. You might as well see if there's anything interesting. All right, and then get a bit enthusiastic about it. And then you get called teacher's pet.
Oh yeah, yes, that was a thing.
I was just genuinely trying to. We've all got to listen to this shit. We might as well listen and see if there's rather than just pretending to listen and ignoring it for however long. So and my other half grew up in Colchester, very single parent, very like really really rough, super poor. And when she tried to climb out and make something for herself, she got. She was given a hard time about it. I want to go to London. What do you want to go to London for? People gave her a hard time.
More opportunity.
Yes. and it pissed people off. I remember because I did my stint in the city as a derivatives broker, got fired for being a gobby. What was it? I got bullied for it, and when I didn't, I got bullied for it. It was just a really toxic environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the point is, this is not a country where, in a group setting, enthusiasm is rewarded.
No, but that's why I've always enjoyed building project teams, because you build a team of people who you have talked with and got together, and you go, all of you guys want to get this done. You're all on the same page. We need to get this done. And that's why the Impossible on Fire project is my favorite setting. And I bring in people, and you end up making really good friends with people who try and get the blazing oil fire.
I'd rather have a shit than 10 people who don't really care.
Correct.
Right, more questions. Should the UK government have taken the Doge approach before increasing the national insurance? Civil servant pensions need to be reduced to the private sector
They
levels.
should have taken the Doge approach years ago.
Well, I think the two. I get fascinated when people switch to which one is the correct option. I think like you should have a permanent
Doge.
yeah,
exactly.
Setup. Maybe not. I think maybe not quite in that form of implementation of just sort of
not
blanket.
not with Elon just going,
sledgehammer.
slash that. Okay.
But I think you should. I think it is almost surprising that there isn't a very high focus on continuously optimizing, like, and ensuring that
we
you don't
spend
have
an absolute fortune on a civil service.
unused license.
Well, I'll
whatever.
tell you exactly why. Nobody in government is incentivized to do it.
Yeah.
So I kind of, but to me, it's almost like bookkeeping. It's like if you have a household, well, yeah, you should always be looking at your bills. You should be looking at your credit card and saying, oh, look, my 0% is running out. I should refinance that. Oh, I'm like, my phone bill has run out of its 2-year whatever, and it's now double. Maybe I should go and get a new one. You should continuously be making these decisions, even if they're not necessarily hugely material in their own right by themselves. Oh, it's an extra 20 quid.
As a habit, it adds
But
up.
as a habit, and over time it adds up. But that's not going to move the needle. The thing that's going to move the needle is you moving from your 35,000 a year job to your 135,000 pound a year job, right? And at the end of the day, like, the difference between you being wealthy and not being wealthy is going to be that latter bit. It's not going to be you optimizing your Sky bill, but you shouldn't just stop.
No, ignore it just because of that.
But you should, whether you're on 35 or 135,000, the point is, it is your, let's call it your profit margin, right? What's left over at the end of your operating yourself for a month.
Yeah.
You've had your revenue from your work, and you had your expenditure. And when you look at the effect of that cost, that constant cost cutting on your marginal, what's left over in a month, it's a big difference. So if you're trying to save up to buy a house, for example, and there are a lot of people doing that, right? They're like, we want to say we could afford a mortgage payment, we haven't got a deposit. We've got to save up a deposit, but we're paying rent.
Yeah,
that's when I think you go. That you can't half it. You've either got to go. We're not going to save a shorter period of and get into our home sooner. That is a security of a home for yourself is of high importance, or highest importance to you.
Yep.
Then actually you do the sums and it does work out. Okay, we're going to have a few very lean years.
Yeah, but and I absolutely agree, and I witnessed it with my parents. They decided they got married, they wanted a family, and they wanted therefore to move to a bigger house. After I was born, then there was a gap of a few years before my sister was born. They said, well, in that period, we need to move to a bigger house. But all they had to do back then, and to be fair, my father was doing very well at work, my mother didn't work, was not go on holiday. It was just no holidays. That was it. That was all you had to give up back in the 1970s, late 1970s. If you
Father work?
No. And that's all you had to give up was your holidays. It's just not the same today. You have to give up, which is why the whole avocado toast meme and so on and so forth. What people have to give up now, and that's with two people working, because of credit, which has now meant that salary multiples are two people working for a house, whereas back then it was only one person's salary that paid for the house. Women weren't even allowed to have mortgages. So it was a whole different ball game. We doubled it, so now 2 people have to work full time to have the same sort of set. That so why do you have kids? Because 2 people are working full time. I can't afford it because we both went, oh fuck, I've got debts to pay. It just becomes
off all of my feeds to try to help the bandwidth.
Okay.
So I can't see them.
What is Sasha's view on CBDC?
I mean, the short answer, I think the alarmist sort of short-term panic around it and stuff is, in my opinion, slightly overblown. I mean, it's been the same for many, many years, and here we are kind of not really any closer.
This week the EU announced they're going to be bringing in this year.
Yeah, I mean, they're always going to be bringing it in. I'll wait until, your grandma is buying her loaf of bread with a CBDC, and then we'll talk, right?
You say that China have passed $1 trillion now of actual CBDC spend within China. $1 trillion is not a trivial amount. Almost every major country, there's 150 countries. Sorry, suddenly there's 90 odd countries. We need to look at the Atlantic Council and get it up, who are in the prototyping or testing stage.
What is the thing that people are most afraid of?
Oh, control. I mean, the big thing is the whole control piece with the token. That's.
I mean, like, so today.
Is it?
So today, when you pay for stuff, you pay with what? You pay with your card.
Exactly, there's no difference. I absolutely
the
agree.
Transactions from that card are just traceable.
Well, they're not quite, because they go through the intermediary of your bank, and the government don't actually see what Barclays do unless Barclays release. And there's so many transactions, you'll never get found out. But I agree. The issue really is when it becomes cashless, and the fact they keep upping the limit on your tap, and it has been upped now through a number of 2 occasions recently through COVID, and the fact that people are now using mobiles where there is no limit, means that we could head to a cashless society. And if we do,
it kind of is for most people.
Yeah.
Most people
How
already.
long was the last time you carried cash?
I mean, I've got kids, so it's before kids didn't you have all these Fiverr things that you have to pay a tenner for this particular thing, and it has to be cash or whatever. And there's the burger stand at the next event, and they don't have the little card reader things. So other than that, I don't use cash for anything really.
Agreed, and this is why I've said it's inevitable that we will have CBDCs, because that's the way society is moving. That's the way the technology is moving. But the difference is, once we have the intermediaries, the commercial and retail banks disappear, and the Bank of England holds all of your accounts, your salary is paid into it, and it makes your life so much easier. There's no paperwork from a tax perspective. They already have all your transactions.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get there personally. Even if people are,
why not?
Why not?
Yeah, seriously, why not? What is the barrier?
To be a debt jubilee.
I think that there are long term. I just think there are practicalities.
What practicalities stop this? Sorry, I'm putting this. Sorry, Sasha. Understand? I'm not attacking you. What I'm saying is, I have people tell me on a regular basis, Bitcoin solves this. Bitcoin solves this. I'm like, mate,
Bitcoin fixes it.
I can give you 100 reasons why Bitcoin cannot become a transactional currency. Now, you tell me why CBDCs can't be a transactional currency in this country.
I think a sort of digital version of regular government currency,
that's a CBDC,
is going to come in, but I don't see a world where all of people's accounts, if anything, we're actually migrating to a place where people have more different accounts and more different places where money lives.
Do you remember in IT? Do you remember when we had mainframes? Everything was centralized. You're too young. Had mainframes. Okay.
I've coded the green screens.
I love you, man. Everything was centralized, and we just had dumb terminals. And then we went, no, we want client server. And so we built all this disparate architecture. And then somebody went, yeah, but you could run Citrix on that, and you could centralize everything again. Oh, yeah, centralized, but it's now digital, virtual centralized. You go, no, it's not virtual yet. Those are real servers. Now we'll virtualize them. And I see, I'm afraid, the financial system in exactly that light as a progress piece, which is we have gone from you can exchange bank notes. You'll go to your bank in Italy, where they invented the fucking system, the bastards. Actually, the Chinese did, but that's by the by. And you'll hand over your note and a promissory from your bank in London that they will give you X thousand lira. We went from that very rapidly over the digitalization to checks, and then to debit cards, and then credit cards first, then debit cards, and then the fact that we now just use, a lot of people I know don't take a card with them, they just use their phone. They don't have cash, they don't have a card, it's just the phone. I see no reason why we wouldn't centralize it even further, because Barclays might turn around to you and say, I'll give you a mortgage. I'll give you a mortgage for your house. You want to buy it? I'll give you a mortgage. It'll be, because I've looked at your credit rating, I know who you are, I'll give you 4.9% interest. Now, I'm going to give that person over there 4.7% because they're a better risk than you are. If the Bank of England turned around and said, hey, we are the equitable people in the middle. We're going to be good for everyone. You don't worry. We know, because we've got control of the money that's paid into your account for any work you do, or we control your universal credit. So honestly, we'll give you a good rate. It's going to be better than Barclays. And any interest you pay is going to go back into the country's national infrastructure. You are going to help fund the next small modular nuclear reactor.
Comrade.
You tell me, comrade. Yeah.
I was born and grew up in the Soviet Union.
So you know how well that works. I'm not suggesting this works. What I'm suggesting is I can see a future where it happens.
So, okay, so sorry, we've got lots of questions. We've got to get down from less than 10 minutes per question, otherwise a lot of people won't let questions. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or undecided for CBDC?
I'm kind of like neutral on it.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool, right. Will the US dollar still be the global reserve currency?
Good one.
When?
How long?
So,
I mean,
forever.
No. I think in the short term, 100%.
Yeah.
At the moment, in terms of commerce, in terms of like, sure, like we're in a more bipolar world, maybe not multipolar world, and people are now transacting in other currencies.
2100 global reserve.
Who? What?
Dollar in 2100 global reserve.
Well, if anything, I think if we move away from the dollar, it won't be to a new dominating currency.
Agreed.
It'll just be to a multiple different currencies and people.
No, it'll be Bitcoin, because Bitcoin fixes everything.
Fuck you.
But I think people who go, oh, it'll be China, or I just think.
Well, the BRICS are going to get gold-backed currency. Fuck off.
I just think it'll split.
Bitcoin.
It just splits into more.
Yes.
Like, just like today, if you live in different countries, you operate different bank accounts. Like I have bank accounts in different countries. I move money around. Like it doesn't matter.
I'd like to point something out, right? But on Bitcoin, is that I've asked the question because all you ever see is Bitcoin fixes fucking everything.
Yeah.
Right? And I've asked them to tell me one thing that it has so far fixed.
Fuck all.
Nothing.
I mean,
does it have the potential to fix some things? Potentially, if lots of very unlikely things happen.
I find it such a difficult topic because it's very difficult to win an argument against people who don't. I tech, right? So the winter from 2010 to 2011, I heated my house. We didn't turn on the heating. I heated it because I had a giant rig. So I bought aluminium like sticks, and I made a rig. Graphics. And this was just before, so I think it was in 2011.
Proof of work was
a year later is when the media went all crazy for it, and I actually at that point sold all the graphics cards, which were knackered beyond belief after running at 100% for a year, for more than I bought them for because there was a shortage. You couldn't get them.
Yes, couldn't get them
when all the media started writing about it. Anyway,
so how many coins did you mine by that point?
So I think like.
He's being very quiet now.
No, so 25. I sold them very early. I sold them because when I was starting my business, I needed cash.
Oh no!
And
what year are you talking?
2011.
I bought mine in
2015, 2016. I can't
Oh,
remember.
that you sold, but you mined them in 11.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, I don't feel bad because I wouldn't have my business today, and I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today without that.
Yeah,
So
cool.
I don't.
But if you had
Bitcoin
held
did
them,
fix something for you then.
So, but the thing is, but I'm able to see it from, as in, like, it's a cool technology. It will absolutely revolutionize things in the future. We just haven't got there yet. It's much slower than I even expected. I think like identity documentation, other things. There are benefits to having a ledger which is immutable.
From
and
blockchain you're talking about.
Yeah.
yes, not Bitcoin.
No, but I mean, Bitcoin itself also has like some advantages, especially over all the other crypto shit out there. 100%, like 99% of it is just designed to be a scam. Like all of these crypto tokens.
Yeah.
I'm
What, you're
fascinated.
telling me the Trump coin is not worth investing in? I don't know what about Melania?
but I also didn't see, like, sometimes it used to be a problem to be solved for people to adopt a particular tech.
Right.
And like there is having a regular old school bank account where you can make a payment in a fraction of a second. There is no issue with speed of transaction. There's no issue with the amount that you can send. There's no issue with fees even. I know, like, in the US, interbank and stuff like that, there are still some fees, and some other countries are
our
even more.
systems work absolutely
Like
fine.
today, I can send money to anybody. It arrives immediately. There's no fee.
Yeah.
Do you know how much, as a percentage of global GDP, bank transaction fees are?
Cool.
2%.
Wow. Really?
Well, card
bastards.
payments is high. Card payments are high, right?
2% of global.
Oh,
GDP
sorry. You're
bank
including
transaction.
the transaction, the Visa charge, the retailer.
Presumably.
You're not. You're
no,
not.
I don't think so. No.
You must be. It's
No,
good.
because that's even higher.
Well, that's like 2-3%.
Yeah.
For most of it.
No. I'm saying 2% is banking
Really?
transaction charges. Yeah.
But we
Not
pay
credit cards,
we
not
pay
merchant
fuck,
fees.
We pay fuck all.
There we are. I think we're probably better off in these countries than we are in some. Right, lots more questions to keep going. Now we've established that Bitcoin fixes nothing. Just winding you up, guys. Just winding up. Tina Fey says, is there going to be some sort of reprieve, or is it a shit cyclone for the foreseeable?
Oh, hi, Tina. I love the show, by the way. 30 Rock. Big fan.
I think it's going to be a shit cyclone for a while.
The data is not suggesting that we are about to do a U-turn, and later the policies that you're going to go and properly. Of course, things can happen, right? Macro things do, like a sort of, on the back of AI, something separate, whatever. Like, things can change. The data we have today, especially in the UK, is not indicating that we are suddenly about to go and rip through.
I think they're being very
upwards.
understated.
Well,
I agree with you. I think they've really sort of being very, very reserved. And the data has shown that we've been depressed.
If you work out,
and the policies that are coming out are just making for the foreseeable future. I'm afraid it's a shit cyclone. Continues to be.
I think
wish it wasn't the case.
we said it in the video 2 and a bit years ago. Death in poverty. I think
That's
was
right.
Anyway,
Are you aware of Alex's death and poverty thesis?
I am.
2021 or 22, early 22.
21.
And it's sitting here. I was just at the camera thing. And
This
I published
bastard
it. It went viral.
fucking
on TikTok,
publish
it had
it.
like 500,000 views on TikTok because there's this.
Yeah, but that wasn't death in poverty. That was just middle class. It was just about squishing the middle class, and it was, from what I understand, a little Gary's economics with what's happening. But my only point was, don't think that it's just the worse over the years. Those people that think they are middle class, they're going to get hurt as well.
Haven't heard of death in poverty as we discuss it. You see it as incontrovertible, unavoidable. There's no way of avoiding it. Because I've asked you the question in the past: what would have to happen? And you said basically until they do CBDC and there's a debt jubilee, nothing stops it. It's unavoidable.
We have to shrug this debt. Without shrugging the debt, I don't see how this. We have to shrug the debt, enough money in their monthly income, because at the moment we depend on third parties, foreign companies to invest in this country, and we're an attractive proposition because our people are cheap as chips from a wage perspective, as you just pointed out, Sasha. American R&D see us as Mumbai because Jesus, our people are cheap. But that has to come to an end when the tax side of it doesn't stack up.
But we've seen a compression at the bottom, in the bottom half of the wage spectrum, right? So when I was entering the workforce 20 years ago, oh God. So as a graduate in a reasonably decent university, going into
you mean with a maths degree from Oxford? That's not.
But going into a bank and stuff, you'll be earning a salary, depending on where you went, but like between, say, I don't know, 27 and 32,000 or something. Back then, that was good money.
Yep.
The minimum wage at that point was like minimum working minimum wage is 26,000 pounds as of April.
Yep.
The median wage in the UK at the moment is what, like 35? Huge differential, right?
Right.
And that's like half the country, right? So I know median is not, but
Yeah.
most people are sitting on very similar levels of income,
Which is very little.
and if you're I know there are some companies that pay very well, but if you're like a reasonably experienced senior manager somewhere, maybe you're earning 50. But again, the differential between the absolute lowest wage and that, so in terms of like aspirations and what you can get, that thing is just squeezed so hard now that it almost doesn't matter how hard
Correct.
you work, how much experience you built up. The top end hasn't really moved. Like when I was starting out, a reasonably good experience, like director in a good company, would be making, I don't know, like £120,000 or whatever, the worst salary in the world.
Now, it wasn't then, it is now.
But that's what they make today.
Well,
Okay.
and I agree, but those top 5%, this is the thing, those top 5% of managers are now earning 200, 250,
maybe one.
300.
Maybe one.
No, this is.
I think the top 1% is 180 in the UK.
Oh, sorry, no, of the UK, I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about somebody who works in a big company.
Yeah.
Who is, so the great thing about being a contractor is I get to work in lots of different companies. So Sony, GSK, the FT, I get to see the salaries of all the people in the companies. And what you notice is this massive jump from I'm a manager, senior manager in an IT department, and I will earn £75,000 a year. This is a few years back, so maybe 80, 85 now. But my CIO earns 250K. And you go, they report, this is a direct report, but it's a 3 times salary jump. How does that work?
Big, yeah.
Seems a bit cruel. And then you look across, and across the whole band, there's about 5% of people in the company that really, the EVPs, the SVPs, who are earning big bucks. And then below, it's just got squished. Yeah. It's just squishy. And you look at it and go, these guys are not buying that 3-bed terrace in Fulham at £1.4 million.
I thought it was 1.6.
Well, it was on for 1.6, but they sold, the one next door sold for 1.4. It's a 3-bed, 140 square meter terrace with a garden the size of my foot for £1.4 million.
Right, next question. Sorry, I'm going to keep going. So gold is up 35% in the last year.
Happy about that.
Do you expect it to continue?
I'll be honest, I don't follow gold. I'm maybe a dinosaur because I don't consider commodities a form of investment. I mean, like, commodities can go up and down.
To a commodities broker.
Commodities can go up and down in value. I spent a year
but they're
in
not productive.
forecasting and trading of like energy futures. So
yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. the most boring thing I've ever done in my life. But commodities can go up and down in value, and there are traders who can make money on those swings. Great. But ultimately, for me, the difference between something that is an investment and something that is a just speculative trading play is: are you expecting a return from that investment based on that thing producing something? And if the answer is no, then you're speculating on the price movement solely.
Yeah.
Because if the thing is not producing you something on the back end, whether that's shareholder returns,
or
in
NVIDIA's graphics cards, if you think their next chip design is going to be the thing, and that is where that's a productive company investment.
Okay.
Gold, it's about desire. And right now, central banks seem to be desiring gold.
Store of value, no?
So, I mean, a very heavy story.
But you can't move it across borders.
And you can't heat
Imagine if you turn up to an airport with a gold bar in your bag.
But you can't heat your fucking room with it either. So either way, you're fucked.
So, okay. But I think some people I saw today saying, look, gold going up equals currency going down.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Can this government, Davy Dave says, can this government?
No. They just
fuck alone.
What they've done is they've made a promise that they're not going to keep to build 1.5 million homes in 5 years.
Which isn't even the problem.
We're a year in 3 months, right?
Yeah.
And how many?
200,000 so far. So they are well below where they should be. But more importantly, they just said to the FCA, loosen those regs, man. Lend, go. And not only that, we haven't implemented, but we're thinking about the government backing these mortgages.
The taxpayer.
No, the government. It's not the taxpayer, because the government has its own money. I mean, they just make it. They have this. Oh no! Fuck yeah! It is our money. Oh, maybe that's.
It's not your money. It's printed money.
Yeah.
David,
that's what the banks get. The mortgage backing, that gets our tax money.
Next question. Daniel Evans says, base rate predictions for this year.
Base rate. I mean, it obviously no idea, but if you look at what's happening with the economy in the UK, if you look at the direction things are headed, like inflation is proving sticky in real terms.
Well, look at wages. They've just gone up again.
Wages are like 5.9%. Like, we were talking about this for a long time already. Like, wages going up at that rate is not because. So this is, I think, a very crucial point in just basic macroeconomics. Wages can go up because the economy is booming, and people are making money, and things are great, and companies are like rich, and everyone's getting richer. Or they can be going up because the government is insisting that they go up, which is part of what we're seeing. Or they can be going up because the people are finding it so extremely difficult that they're having to go to their company and say, you have to pay me more.
Or, and this is the final one, which I think is happening at the moment, people are being laid off or not employed, and the people who are being not employed are the ones on the minimum wage, which means that the average person that's employed appears to have a higher wage, whereas in fact what is happening is simply the guys at the bottom are being added to the unemployment sector. Oh, dun, dun, dun.
No, they're not unemployed. They're not economically active.
Active, yeah. Now, if you can explain the difference to me, I'd be really excited to hear it, because
the guy at the job centre ticked a different box.
Yeah.
So, what's prediction in 12 months' time?
I'm actually not on house rally, so I'll defer. If the economy can go, maybe we will see. It's difficult because house prices suffer from the same issue that we were just talking about with wages, which is if the cheaper, so rich people are less dependent on what's happening in the economy. If somebody is rich, they have children, they need to move to a different house, they can move to a different house because they don't give a shit.
Yes.
Poor people who are maybe finding it much harder to make ends meet, much harder to build up the deposit to go move house, maybe are sinking in debt very well. If you look at the number of transactions on houses, it is very low compared to pre-pandemic levels. So if you go and like look at the data, you can argue, well, the house prices are like on average still holding steady and stuff like that, but it's maybe a sort of effect where the actual house price, so the price of an equivalent house is dropping, but because less of the cheaper houses, fewer of the cheaper houses are being sold, the average gets pushed up.
That was
right?
a great grammatical catch, by the way.
Yeah.
A few, I get shouted at for less and fewer all the time. Well done.
Well
done.
Right, got to keep going because there's some good questions here. Someone changes coming says £80,000 after tax and student loan. According to listen to tax site is 48,000.
Yeah, so I think this is an issue that people often do video or a short. So first thing is there is a difference between overall tax rate, as in like total versus what you take home, and the marginal tax rate. Marginal tax rate being the highest rate at which you pay tax, because there are bands. Obviously, the first 12,000 whatever, you don't pay any income tax, although you do pay national insurance from whatever it is now. So when we talk about marginal, and that's why I was talking about marginal tax rate, that's the highest rate at which you pay in tax. So that's one important definition. Also, that particular, so if you're talking £80,000 income, what did you say?
48,000
take home,
which is 48 take home. Yeah.
That 80 is now also getting a 13.8% employees national insurance, which will be 15% from April, right? Yeah. So that's another £12,000.
They could have been paying you.
So the firm is paying that money for the privilege of employing you.
Yeah.
So as far as the firm's concerned, the total amount out the door for the privilege of you being the employee is the 80 plus the 12. It's 92. Yeah. That's actually your
hang on. But it gets better, which you guys never calculate. By you, as I mean people looking at the tax side. I'm looking at it from a building side, only for the last 4 or 5 years. When you set up an office in central London and you have a desk for a person, which is why hot desking became such a thing, add £16,000 to that for the cost of the desk for the year and all the facilities that sit around it. So suddenly this person is going, well, I only earn 80,000 a year. Well, that's true. You do only earn 80,000, but you cost the firm £108,000 a year. You even walked out the door, because then there's pension, your healthcare, your special life assurance, you 120 grand.
Yeah.
Well, on that point, we've got someone here called Modi who says, civil servant here, we are not paid good wages. They use the pensions as the incentive.
Correct. Well, depending on which part of the civil service, but mostly correct. You could earn 40 grand a year as a civil servant for life, but your pension is,
especially if it's like not contribution based, especially if it's a final salary style.
It's better. Well, which many of them are.
There are still some.
Yeah, it's better than anyone could get private, even if they were earning 3 times your wage, unless they were very, very thrifty.
I'm very mindful of the fact we didn't answer that question that was the most popular question on X that we were supposed to ask, which is the three of us are Prime Minister, Chancellor, and Governor of the Bank of England.
So who's who? That's the big question, really.
What? Cameras. Cameras everywhere.
Do you want me to pass one to you?
Yeah, that bottle. Yeah.
I've been watching Halo, just like Spartan, you to rugby throw. Thank you.
So, who wants to be Chancellor? And who wants to be?
Well, the mathematician has got to be Chancellor.
Or no, wouldn't the mathematician be better at the Bank of England? Governor of the Bank of England?
I don't think.
Whichever you prefer.
Being governor is fucking boring.
He's obviously going to be prime minister because he's gobby shite.
Being governor of Bank of England is kind of boring though. So
I think
we'll have to draw a lot.
I'll do the boring job. It's fine.
So you're Bank of England governor?
Yeah, apparently good stepping stone though, Mark Carney.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I actually had this conversation with Lewis earlier. I thought they brought Mark Carney in because he was an exotic foreigner. Again to get us back. Then, of course, he'd fuck off back to Canada and we'd hate him, didn't matter because he'd be in Canada. When I realised that that bastard was going to...
Oh! It's bizarre because it was such an unpopular opinion at the time to say, why are interest rates not going up? Like, we've had a decade of the second biggest boom in economic history.
Yeah.
And we're still at
0.5%, for God's sake. It's just... Anyway,
and that's how bad the underlying situation was.
As the Bank of England, okay,
so
I actually have to tell you, because I'm independent, I can tell you guys what the fuck I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest with you. I am not going to let interest rates fall below 3.75. I believe that historically, actually, in terms of growth, because interest rates should be above inflation, it helps investment, and it actually brings people to the country. I'm going to keep interest rates at 3.75. Now, I have a problem. I have a big problem. I printed a lot of fucking money for no apparent reason, and it's still sitting on my books. So what I'd like you guys to do is help me to organize a CBDC so that I can have a debt jubilee and just fuck off that debt. But in the interim, what you have to work with is, let's call it a 3.75 interest rate. Away you go.
Okay. So what do you, as the Prime Minister, you want me to sell this idea? Do you?
No, I want you to work out how you're going to fix the finances of this country.
Okay. I know. Okay. So over to you, Chancellor Yanshin.
It's funny because I'm literally working on a video about what I would do as an emergency budget. Which is going to be give it. So I think the focus on the spring statement is going to be all about is probably not going to address the ultimate issue of how are you going to get growth back on track, which I know there's a lot of people who get allergic to the word growth and they say, why should the economy keep growing? Why should we?
It has to, although it dies.
Well, I think the simple answer from my perspective is, aside from, like, don't take it as an economic thing. Don't take it as a bankers say that it should, therefore it must. Economic growth is a function of human productivity. So imagine you have two people in the forest. They start out, the economy is zero. One guy is a skilled house builder. One guy is a skilled hunter. The skilled hunter goes out, hunts food for both of them.
Feeds the bastard who builds
brings the
house.
food and he trades the food to the other person. The other person builds a house for each of them.
No.
And so they trade. And suddenly there is an economy going. The size of the economy is the sum of the productivity of both people, the hunting and the house building. And suddenly he's gone from... So this is a very simple scenario, but it's really interesting because when you begin thinking about it, like, the economy can grow without necessarily being at the expense of anyone or anything.
Yes.
It is a sum of human productivity. And it doesn't require you to steal money from somewhere in order to like make it happen.
Do people really think that?
A lot of people do. A lot of people think like it's a zero-sum game.
No,
so
build stuff. Build.
And so
you're taking it from the poor.
The way, so obviously not every measurement is perfect, and maybe GDP itself has its downsides.
Yeah.
But it is a crude measure of how fast are we as a collective society growing our productivity. It's like, how fast do we go from two dudes turning up in the forest to them both having nice houses and loads of food and sitting around a fire and eating food.
Yeah.
And so I think it is important to kind of measure that, because then maybe you can improve your life even further. You know, you can automate the system for producing food without the guy having to go and risk his life every day to go and get it.
And that's the point, is that everything in terms of cost should actually be coming down. We've seen it in electronics. The cost of a television in 1960 was, 3 months' salary for.
So before we get down a rabbit hole, what's the Chancellor's policy?
Oh, go on.
Everything should be focused on how do we stimulate growth, but in actual, real, meaningful terms, not just repeating the word. So, examples. I think the tax system revamped to encourage people to.
How would you do that?
So I'll
do that. I'm the Prime Minister.
No.
I've got a policy.
So on taxation, I would revamp the entire taxation system. So income tax abolishes 3 different systems. Maximum rate is 50%. It goes upwards in steps, which are reasonable.
Is there a tax-free amount?
There is a tax-free amount, maybe up to like 10, and then maybe a 35% from there. When you add up the numbers, that's probably still slightly less than what people are paying today.
Let's put it this way: we were at 12,570. 12,570.
Yeah.
If you adjusted anything less than 16,
less, but if the tax is lower, I'll just make it simple. I'll make it super simple and transparent.
Simplify the tax code. What about for companies, whether they are UK based or foreign?
100%.
Would you be offering tax incentives?
Yeah. So, like, I was working on the script earlier today, but I would change corporation tax to have 2 tiers for genuinely UK domiciled companies, where the HQ is in the UK and a significant portion of the executives are based in the UK. They're UK residents, UK taxpayers. Corporation tax becomes 15%.
Oh, nice! I would love that. Big
for companies that are not UK based but choose to base their operations here for whatever
to run
reasons,
money through,
can pay 25%. But that way, you will bring businesses genuinely onshore, not like the island principle where Google is based in Ireland and all
Microsoft,
all these other companies are based in Ireland. But you would actually bring actual businesses. You would bring the people who work there. You would bring the R&D. You would bring prosperity. You would bring jobs and bring the money. I think you need to encourage people to you want to set up genuine enterprise zones. So one issue we have in the UK is we have enterprise zones. Do you know what an enterprise zone in the UK is? Your business has to be based in this one particular specific building on one specific business park.
Nuts.
In order to qualify to be in the enterprise zone, which has specific tax and other benefits. And that building obviously is not at all owned by a guy who is friends with the right people in the government, because why that building? The other building next door to us on the business park? No, does not count. Does not qualify.
Enterprise zones?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Are you suggesting that enterprise zones, bear in mind doing building stuff at the moment, enterprise zones should be like nuclear fallout? You should have.
I think it should be like, here is the 13 cities that we think are great at manufacturing. Here is an 8-mile radius around.
Exactly.
Cities.
So like nuclear fallout.
If you want to be based anywhere within this, start up a new startup or employ people,
you will get.
Here's what you're going to get.
Yeah. What about free ports?
If I were the Prime Minister, I would approve this Chancellor's budget. I definitely would.
You would, but what would you be telling people? I'm telling you as a person, I'm not happy. I can't get a fucking house.
Okay.
Why don't you loosen the lending criteria so I can borrow more money? I need to borrow a lot of money.
Instead of that, I'm going to help house prices come down.
Oh no, but
what about inheritance and pensions?
Whilst at the same time reducing the government's
expansion bill.
I'm actually going to.
I'm a pensioner. I like the idea.
A productive government asset.
Are you saying you're not paying for the foreigners anymore?
Because I was elected on the promise that if you fix housing, you fix everything. And this is how you fix housing. You start by the government saying, right, private, you're not going to stimulate or meddle legal obligations to provide accommodation to certain people. We are no longer going to pay private sector to do that, profiteering, money-grabbing third.
I mean, you're going to build them yourselves.
We are going to build government-owned accommodation.
Does
that's
that
going
mean
to be
you're
very
employ people?
We're going to create employment.
Oh, sorry. But are you actually, as they did in the 1950s and 60s, are you actually going to employ a bunch of people and set up basically a construction firm?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, that's very exciting.
The government, the public building, and actually Russell Quirk has offered to lead that project.
Is he?
In real life.
No, not Quirky.
Yeah. And we will build very high quality, as in durable, long-lasting, modern, energy efficient, safe homes.
Could they please have ceilings as high as this one, as opposed to I can touch them?
Respectable, decent homes where people can actually have a life, because no home, no life. And rather than spending currently £1.7 billion a year on temporary accommodation alone, let alone social housing obligations, which I don't even know what the bill is, we're going to put that money into we're going to invest it into constructing buildings where we can house the people, we the government. And guess what that's going to do? It's going to take pressure off the private rent sector. We're going to reduce demand on private rented sector. Rents will come down. Rents will come down.
But you do understand you put a lot of pressure on your chancellor here, because that bill that you're going to have to pay for all those builders who are going to go out and build these houses, and you think you're going to recoup it in terms of the sales of the houses or in the social rent and all that sort of stuff. Your chancellor is now sitting there getting a bit squeaky bottom, because he knows that in the community at the moment, the care bill for adults in the community, I'm not talking about old people, I'm not talking about care homes, I'm talking about people with disabilities or with mental health issues, is taking up almost as much as the 25% that is being paid in pensions to ex-council's workers. And he's sitting there going, yeah, what you've just done is you've created a building firm where it's going to be council-led. It won't be centralised because they're going to have to work all over the country. So the council's going to come up with the budgets, and we can't expect them to pay for it individually. It's going to have to be centrally funded. Well, this is going to be difficult. It's going to be complex. Because there are a lot of councils, a lot of these, and do with the bankrupt councils. Debt jubilee, and sticks his hand up and goes, "Come on, give me all your debt."
Well, you're being a typical civil servant and just complicating everything. So
I tend to do that.
I'm going to issue special bonds to raise the money to build these houses, and they're going to. The government's going to make.
Oh, bonds? Did you say bonds?
Yes.
Like gilts, like special bonds,
like premium bonds, like special house building premium bonds.
I think going back to the topic that we were covering earlier in the conversation, maybe this is during the part that nobody heard, but there is definitely a problem in the UK with the mentality where people think that their house is like an investment, or actually people think that their house is the investment of their lives.
Their pension. That is
whereas say you ask the same question in.
By the way, just so you know, me and Sasha are in the same house. Some people say, you're in the same place.
But yeah, yes, but people consider, say, people in the US, like what
their investment.
Yeah, so investment is stocks, or houses are the place you live, and it comes with a cost.
Yeah.
And I think conflating that with a form of investment is a very dangerous thing.
100% right, and it's something that we've argued about. So when I say argued, we have not argued. We totally agree. And if you look from 2007 onwards in real terms, a house is not an investment. In fact, it is a depreciating asset. There is no two ways about it. There was a brief period, 21 to 22, where house prices were higher than 2007. Since then, they've actually come down again. But
it will not go up. I mean, by all means, like, I don't give a shit. But
Gordon Brown.
It's like you buy a car and it goes down, and then there's a bottom, and then some cars actually go up from there, right? Great, it doesn't really matter.
You mean a classic?
Yeah.
So are you lucky enough, of the 31 million houses in the UK, are you lucky enough to have bought a classic? Oh, it's an Art Deco building. Look, it's got original glass.
But I think treating somewhere you live as
an asset
investment it's an asset, but it's not an investment.
That's right. There are very large swathes of this country who have done exactly that in the last 20 years.
But they've been
and are now discovering
that it hasn't worked out for them.
It isn't going to be enough.
But Gordon Brown is what caused this, the end of the defined benefit pension, which was under Gordon's watch. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't that he could necessarily have done very much to change that, but he deliberately accelerated it, which is when everybody became a landlord, because that was going to be their fucking pension. Buy-to-let mortgages came out in 96, something like that, the year before Labour got in. Then Gordy came in. The moment he came in, he changed the pension rules, which fucked people my age, so no more defined contribution pensions. And then everyone went, I know what I'll do. I'll buy a flat and rent it out.
But it's like the whole it's this weird, very, very, like, to other people around the world, it's a bizarre mentality. You know, we have all these like programs, Homes Under the Hammer. It's like, oh, look at this bright and airy place. You can turn around with your head on the ceiling. And it's just, everyone looks at it and goes, these guys are weird.
So we are weird.
Like it's a place you live. Like, pick a place that you like.
Yeah, but this is the whole issue we have in the UK, is because we see it as an investment, an appreciating asset. It means that when we come to buy it, we're willing to borrow as much as is humanly possible, which is what pushes up house prices.
Yeah.
If we just sat there and said, no, if we were German, if I said, I am the German, I will never pay more than 28% of my after-tax salary on a mortgage. This is what I am willing to pay. Now show me which properties I can buy. If we did that, house prices in this country would be 30% lower. But they're not, because every Brit goes, oh, look, he wants that house. I love that house. I want that house. How much will you lend me? Mortgage broker. Can I borrow? I'll take it. I'll tell you what, I can't pay it over 30 years. I'll do it over 40. 40, 45. I'll take 45. I'll take 45 and I'll throw in my wife's diamond ring. 45 and the wife's diamond ring, good. That's the best price I can give you. And house prices go through the fucking roof.
And the thing is, the reason why, as Prime Minister, I'd be happy about house prices reducing as a proportion of income is because that would help growth.
Of course it would.
Because people would have money to spend on
other things like investments.
Or start their own businesses.
They can start their own business and they can maybe employ somebody.
Oh my God. What a novel fucking idea. Rather than having everything tied up into the most illiquid asset in the world, a house, which takes you 6 months to fucking sell. So therefore your money is it's like having gold bars, except people will buy a gold bar immediately. They won't sit there and go, no, I'll buy your gold bar in 6 months.
Someone's made a very funny comment. Davey Dave says that forest scenario happened in Lord of the Flies. And they ended up killing each other.
Yes, but they killed a pig first. So, you know.
Yes, and someone else said the same thing. Then the hunter kills the builder simply because builders are pricks. Lisa's hack says, I love my builder. He's like gold dust. Yes.
We're not doing questions for a little while, are we? I've turned off all of my question feed, so I don't know what people are asking, so that the bandwidth might get slightly.
This guy, Sony Shomik, has asked the same question 3 times.
Rony Bomick.
Oh, Rony, sorry. God, I'm blind.
Okay, I'll put it on screen. I'll read that. Dear Charlie, Stig and Sasha, a serious question.
Oh.
What is the time frame before all 3 of you leave the UK? What is the one condition, legislation or situation that will make you leave the UK? I think stop. I think it means we'll stop you. It's a really interesting question, that, because there are reasons I'm not going to leave the UK. But if those reasons didn't exist, then I would.
Yeah.
I actually love I love the UK. And I really mean the UK. I mean Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland. And I have loved
Yeah, not really the Welsh, though.
No, I love Wales.
No, Wales, but not really the Welsh.
Yeah, the Welsh. The taps.
Oh,
I love the
God.
taps. So I really genuinely love the United Kingdom as a home. I was born in London, you know, the Lanesborough Hotel,
Yeah.
Hyde Park Corner.
I was born in the Lanesborough
No, I wasn't. That's now the most expensive knocking shop in London.
Correct.
And what it used to be was St George's Hospital in the 70s when I was born.
Ah.
So I was born and bred London.
You mean before it moved to Tooting?
Yeah, no, there's another one there. And I grew up in Sussex, and I went to school here, and all the rest of it. And you know, I've had a wonderful time, and I've travelled a lot. But I love the UK. But my business, Best Agent, that's not a business I can take anywhere else.
No, it's
right?
UK based.
It is a UK estate agency, UK housing market. It's the industry I've worked in for 25 years. I know it. So that's the reason I wouldn't be going. But if I was in my 20s right now,
you'd be off.
And I had transferable skills,
yeah,
I wouldn't even fucking say goodbye. There'd just be a trail of dust between me and the airport.
Do you know what? The only person here who's actually done it is Sasha. Because I've worked in the UK, I've lived in the UK all my life. I've worked everywhere around the world, and I've enjoyed that. But I've always had my base has always been the UK. And because of my family and my niece and nephew, now it was my parents, and they're still in existence for a bit. But my niece and nephew, who are fantastic. They're young, they're 10 and 14. And obviously my sister and her husband. I would stay in the UK. I'll stay here because I can afford to do so. But you're the only person who's actually done the global trotting.
Well,
Will you stay?
Well, obviously I didn't grow up in this country, although I have spent the majority of my life in this country. So I kind of feel that if I had to call a place home, even if I, was not here, it would be here. But having said that, I kind of find myself in this unusual situation for most people where, so my wife and I, we both work for ourselves. So we have our own business. We have a relatively high degree of freedom where we can literally be anywhere and
still continue.
In a way that is liberating, but it makes it like, it's almost like there's too many options sometimes because you could literally go and live anywhere you want and run the same business, right? Just need to find the right
internet connection,
the right internet connection, but also the correct IKEA furniture to place in the back of your video. I was doing my YouTube channel out of my house, and then I moved to my studio, very much not in my house, and I bought almost identical IKEA furniture. It was a 5x5 like grid thing.
Bookshelf.
One person noticed in the comments. One person. By
the way, everyone, Sasha, for those of you who don't know, is I think I've got 24,000 subscribers, 25 something like 20, on YouTube. So you got 350,000? Are you on your
No. 188.
188. Oh. Okay, so only 6 times more.
Well, I apologise. You're a proper star.
Yeah, so
I should have treated you with more respect.
He's a real celebrity, and he's very kind to come down with us lowly people in the tens of thousands of subscribers.
But seriously, when you were born in
Moscow,
right, and then you moved to the UK
in '99.
But you've worked in America and lived in America.
Yeah, so I worked in America longer than I lived in America, but we were there for a short stint, which was cut short because we had a kid.
Well, they do sort of put a dent in things.
They change many things,
and
we came back. But yeah, the truth is, I think many people in my position are seriously considering their options because.
But do you have dual Russian and UK citizenship?
I have 2, so two is not the same thing as dual. But my Russian passport, honestly, I've not renewed it. So it's expired, but
you could
that's
go
a
back
separate
to
political
America.
Conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so ignore that. But you could go back to the US or one of the the Turks and Caicos is a US, isn't it? It's not a bad place to live.
I could go back, and maybe we will talk about that at some point.
Well, you get better weather.
We'll see.
So when are you off?
I'm not, because I'm old. Like you, I'm old.
Fuck
and my
you.
family
I'm
is
old.
here. You are
Don't
fucking
tell me
old.
with that,
Look
Bryce.
at you, grey-haired badger. You are fucking old.
I haven't even made halfway yet. I'm going to live to 120.
I am about 90% of the way through. If I make it to even 60, I'll be fucking
Well, then
amazed.
you're old, and I'm not. Because you're like giving up.
I'm not giving up.
Okay, good.
It's just I've seen the Grim Reaper, and that fucker is a big bastard.
So have I.
Yes, that's true.
A couple of times.
And not only that, you saw him at a much younger age than me.
I saw him when I was 11, then when I was in my 20s.
No,
and then in
your
my
spleen
30s.
didn't count. That's just a spleen.
I got run over as a child.
It's just a horse
and
box.
almost
It's
bled
just,
out.
Was the horse box full? Did it have a horse in it?
He did have a horse in it.
Fuck off.
He did.
Okay.
Because,
Even
do you know
so.
how I know this? Because it was my parents' horse box.
So your mother
Anyway,
took
sorry,
one look and
that's-
said, I
that's-
am running you over.
In case anyone wondered, yes, I did have a very privileged background. Darling little Charlie got run over by anyway.
He did come back to school
And I got
minus a spleen
meningitis.
and with a very cool scar.
And I got
No, it's the
I had a
heart attack. It's
I had
the
a
heart attack. That's the important one.
So no, I these things are all
Sasha the Russian is looking at us going, dear God, these people.
When I was a kid, my dad had to go and queue up once a week so we could have some meat.
Yeah,
but that's a different life.
So you mustn't cut up the horse in the box. That's not dinner.
It wasn't quite the same.
I went to Saratov in 2004
Oh, yeah.
to visit, which is a city in Russia, guys, and it's 16 hours by train from Moscow. which is a journey
Russia is a
I'll
big
never
fucking
forget.
country.
It was an overnight train.
It's not the fastest train.
No,
Oh, no,
but it's still a big
it's
country.
literally like walking, jogging. Speed.
Saratov is not that far.
Oh, really?
It was 16 hours on the train.
Oh dear! I'm imagining when he says no, it took me 16 hours. I imagine the Trans-Siberian
It's not a bullet
Railway,
train,
and he's gone halfway.
No,
across.
it was just a wasteland. It was January. It was a frozen wasteland. And I got there, and you say queuing up once a week for meat, right? And I was going to meet the software development company, the web application development company I was working with, just started working with, a team of 12 of them there. One of them was a professor from the university. And I had no frame of reference of what to expect in terms of what it's going to be like there at all. It was one of the biggest culture shocks of my life. I've traveled to lots of other places as well. I've seen very cool countries, all the rest of it. But it was, I think back then, I remember someone telling me that Saratov is a city of 1 million people. And then 70% of them still didn't have running water.
Jesus.
2004.
It was, I remember going in the outskirts, there were just literally wooden huts.
So the
we didn't have
villages are
Like,
yeah.
And what the food that we're eating every day, I had no idea how simple it was going to be. I had no idea. It was completely.
Yeah, well, as a kid in Russia, you get sent to the dacha, which is depending on your wealth, like somewhere between 45 minutes and an entire day's drive from wherever
I
city
thought the
you
dacha
live.
was like a farm family house type thing. Is that not?
Well, it is. So everyone has one in Russia. Your level of wealth just depends how far it is. Because if you're like just the minimum wage, whatever, you still have one. It's just it might be 5 hours for you, whereas it's 45 minutes for the rich person,
got
right?
it. Yeah.
Because like when you go far out enough, houses are almost worthless. But yeah, so you see, every kid spends summers in one of those with their grandparents, and you have to go to the well to get the water and all that kind of stuff.
Well, the weird thing is, my Polish partner, when she was a kid, because she's born in the late 70s. Let's go that way, because she'll be upset if I say her age, I think. Because she's Polish and they're a bit odd. But she used to go to the Russian family, and she spent digging potatoes was one of the things that they had to go and do. And it was supposed to be that was holiday. This was the holiday, was to go and dig the fucking potatoes.
Yeah, the field behind the house was potatoes.
Yeah, and I'm going, that is not a holiday. I remember holidays.
You don't spend that much time digging the actual potato.
Okay. Well, she
out
said
of the 3 months, it's not a very high proportion of the time.
But it is, and that's the
You
thing. It
spend
was
time like
you
20
said
minutes
3
reading.
months. That's exactly what she.
Yeah,
Was that a normal thing?
Yeah,
Guys, we've got to get back onto the.
Sorry.
This is lovely.
Have we? This is interesting.
This is very
Like,
interesting.
economics is
People
not
asking
interesting
questions.
at all.
It's like Russia school finishes at the end of May and starts on the 1st of September, so you get exactly 3 months.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And I spent an amazing time in August in Russia with a village, a community that lived off the grid, completely off the grid, with the animals. It was amazing.
like,
I'll tell you about that another time.
Yeah, it's like
I did a
rural
Vladimir
places,
Putin,
yeah.
and I was riding horses. Bareback in the sun.
You had your tits out in the sun.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
I
not
actually
nice.
did that.
That's not nice, mate.
Stephanie Quinlan says Gen X here, not old. We're not old.
We
Stephanie.
are fucking old. Gen X is
Gen X
old.
with
I get
2
confused with all
Gen
the
Z
kids.
kids. I was a late starter. My kids aren't Gen Z. My kids, whatever the next one up, that's good.
Zoomers.
I
They are
lose
Zoomers.
track of all the gens,
Yeah.
if I'm honest with you.
I have no idea how to advise them where to keep or invest their savings.
Oh, good question.
Any advice?
Good question.
Well, this is Sasha's area of expertise, so I'm handing over to him. So, where do children keep their savings or invest their savings? Children.
Well, so I'm not au fait with exactly how old these kids are, but obviously we have like
Children are teenagers. Like teenagers.
we have junior ISAs, right, which mean the kids can have actual control of their money.
Junior ISAs. Okay.
Junior ISAs. The downside with junior ISAs is that not as many places offer them. Some of them are all right. Say the Hargreaves Lansdowne one is all right, and a few other ones are all right. And this is completely not in any way sponsored or HL suck for normal.
So they shouldn't buy
ISAs.
Bitcoin then.
But the interesting thing, and the thing that I think like is kind of something that people don't really talk about at the moment. But now that adults can have unlimited ISAs, as of last year.
Unlimited in terms of number of different types
Correct.
of ISA,
You can have.
you still are limited to the amount, and it's about to get decreased in Reeve's budget.
Well, apparently they've gone back on it, but
Fingers crossed.
many points there. You could open like a regular ISA for your kid. No, you shouldn't do that, of course, because that would be illegal.
Can you open a SIP?
but one could.
This isn't advice.
No, but can you
one
open
could.
a SIP for your kid? Can you start a pension for a child when they are born?
I don't know.
There's a bit of a tangent here.
I
It's
don't know
definitely
technically if you can or not. I don't know
No,
if you
but
have to be-
okay. But sorry, for her children,
But
in
you
their
could
20s,
but you could open an ISA if you you could open an ISA in your name and let your children's money
use
be
the
part of
benefit.
it. Because
That's
technically,
illegal.
it's if you are the one contributing the money and you decide what the
But then it's
ultimate
a
outcome of the
gift, and then it becomes a.
We're getting
This is why CBDCs. You sit there. I'm like,
trusts.
but you bring up an interesting question, because the ISA allowance in the UK is £20,000.
Yeah.
And I know it's hugely unpopular, but so Rachel Reeves was saying that she wants to bring that down to 5,000, but for cash ISAs only,
yeah. If you
to
invest
encourage
in
people
stocks
to then
and shares,
invest in stocks
yeah.
and shares. I would take that, and actually that's in my thoughts. I would actually take that one step further. I would reduce the entire ISA limit to 5,000, because if you think about it, like, which normal person on any reasonable wage after tax can contribute £20,000 to their ISA? And if you're a couple, that's 40,000
in a year.
in a year.
Yeah, well, it's so few. And you're talking
Nobody.
about the top end.
So
10%.
the difference between the 5 and the 20 only really benefits the very rich people,
Mhm.
because after tax, like 5,000 is over 400 quid a month after tax that you're able to put every single month without exception into your investments, right? And the truth is, most people can't do that.
Mhm.
If you're honest with yourself, most people,
Yeah.
like if you're watching this, you probably can't do that, right? You probably don't do that. So I actually don't think that the 20,000 allowance is necessary or appropriate, because it is right and it is good that for regular people there should be an allowance that you can invest tax free. But 5,000 sounds reasonable. I would go further than Rachel and just say all ISAs should just be capped at 5,000 a year per person, because that allows the regular working person to invest tax free, but it doesn't let the person earning 250k a year go and take 40,000 of that in their name and their wife's name, whatever. And there's 9,000, that you can put per kid or whatever. It doesn't allow them to go and take advantage of it. And actually, if they want to invest more, great, you'll just pay the regular capital gains tax like everybody else. So on that one, I actually think I don't see why it is 20 and why it should be 20.
I've been with Sasha on this, although I wouldn't drop it quite as low as you're talking about. And I'm pleased that Rachel has abandoned the whole you must invest in British stocks as opposed to just the standard stocks and shares.
Well, they keep saying, pension funds should invest in green energy. I'm like, how
Why?
are you going to guarantee the returns on this?
Well, you're not, because it doesn't make any money. As we all know, until they start building those small modular reactors, green energy does not make cash. It is a subsidized industry.
Green energy probably would do okay if we had a different way that energy reconciliation worked.
All I will
Because
say
we
is
work on
the
a
cost-
highest price tariff base on
We
half
do,
hourly.
but the cost of building one of these 16 megawatt windmills and
Right.
the amount of concrete that's used and the lack of sustainability in the rare earth metals and so on. And it's the fact it's in salt water, and therefore the blades will actually have to be replaced every 7 to 10 years. And they're dropping 500 litres of oil potentially a year. They are not, and bear in mind, I am currently working, and I may be about to get sacked, I imagine. I'm currently working on a massive scheme for the Crown Estate. And the Crown Estate own the seabed where all of these wind farms are.
Yeah.
And King Charles is very much in favour of the wind farms. And yet I've looked at all the maths on them in comparison with small modular reactors, and I cannot see how they stack.
But without wind farms, how are we going to get those videos of the truck trying to carry a giant blade through a city and try to do that 90-degree turn. You know, like
I have family who are involved in offshore wind farm construction and stuff like that, and they said it's an absolute joke. The maintenance costs are wildly over the top.
Well, and also
they don't count the carbon emissions
of the
maintenance vessels.
No, but it gets better. Right? Do you know what? Wind farms, even today. Now, bear in mind, nuclear has been around since the 1950s. We had nuclear stations, and we've had three major incidents: Fukushima, 3 Mile Island, and Chernobyl. And yet, those offshore wind farms have killed more people per terawatt hour of energy generated than nuclear. And even Grok, ChatGPT, they told me to begin with, oh no, the reason we don't nuclear, oh no, wind farms are the best in the world. And so I kept going and I argued, and they eventually went, oh, I apologize. I seem to have fallen for a mainstream media meme, etc. I've got the full apology that I posted on X, where the machine learning algorithm says, yeah, actually, wind farms have killed more people than nuclear per terawatt hour of generation.
You heard it here first, folks. Wind farms are deadlier than nuclear reactors.
And not only that,
especially if you're a bird.
Yeah, we didn't even include birds. Let birds out of it.
We've had a very good question here, and we've got to wrap up soon, otherwise you're going to miss your train. Davey Dave says, Sasha, will you have Charlie and Stig on your show?
My issue is I don't really.
That sounds like a no.
That's a no. That's a hard no.
Well, one, I just have never done interviews, and my place is not really set up. Will be like huddled in front of the one camera, looking awkward. Maybe. Also, I live out in the sticks. Obviously, I've come out into the big smoke over here. You guys would need to venture far outside of the.
That's okay. Do it on a regular basis. I'm off the sticks tomorrow. Back to the southwest.
He's dead.
Anyway, so that sounds like a no. No offense.
I just don't really do interviews. That's the. Maybe I should. Maybe I should start like a.
What we can do is that
an interview
podcast. We can do. We can live stream as a guest just remotely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. If you wrap up, I can go for a cigarette.
Say that,
oh shit!
That was on you. That one.
That was me.
Right. Guys, I have put in the description below links to both of Sasha's YouTube channels. His big important one, which is a global investment channel, and then his other Sasha Takes on UK.
Yeah,
which is coming on.
It's doing all right. It's getting views.
You're going to overtake me in like 3 months, which really pisses me off. There we go.
He has a much bigger audience, Charlie.
But honestly, it's genuinely been a real honor to have you here because I love your videos. I feel a kinship with the way you look at the ONS's data and look at the way it's reported. What's going on here?
It was nice to come and do this face to face. We have met before, but in more like a pub setting. So,
yeah.
Sorry, is this not like a pub setting? Do you have a beer?
Apologies to everyone for the
close enough
lengthy internet connection problems at the start. We've been going for 2 hours and 8 minutes.
Wow.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been great fun. And I would love to do this again. I'd love to have you back on my channel anytime you like, actually. And either in person or remotely. It'd be great fun.
But he will test the internet first and ensure that it's...
I've never had that back.
Get fiber, or at least dial-up.
Well, no, I think he should probably... I think he should probably just come to
Central London. Virgin Media was here with Virgin Media, but they just stopped working and they couldn't fix it. For months, they couldn't fix it. So I just left and now we're using that thing. Right, guys. Any last minute? So actually, Stephanie Quinlan is calling from down under. The Aussie kids who are 21 and 19. Smart and frugal, but no ISAs in Australia.
No. Well, Oz is very difficult because your house prices, depending on which city you live in, are through the fucking roof.
Yeah.
So investment difficult.
I lived in Sydney for a while, doing the estate agency software stuff, working with agents out there. I was employing people simultaneously in London, Colombo, Sri Lanka, and Sydney.
I know very little about the financial setup in Australia, so.
They are even more house price fucked than we are.
Aussies hate British people going out there setting up business.
Yeah.
It's a fucking stab you in the back.
Yes, because we're cheap. Honestly, we are the Mumbai We go out there, even our doctors charge less than their doctors. We are literally like
Ciao, Ricky.
being outsourced to Mumbai in the 90s.
Argy Bargy, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Ron Buck. We will do this. I would love to do this again. If Sasha's willing to do it again, I would love this again. We'll have a better setup next time and do a bit better prepared. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We do have to wrap this up now. And I will probably also upload and edit. We'll cut off that first 20 minutes of nightmare.
26
But anyway,
minutes.
Sasha, thank you very much. Really appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having me.
And I hope you'll come back again soon. Stiggy, thank you very much too.
As always.
As always.